screw up here? Is this right here going to be full-throated revenge of the ladies who choose to, I don't know, not start families at any point in time in their life? The reason why I start this video off with that question is because I think a lot of people took this particular situation totally and utterly out of context. But here's the thing. It's kind of the thing of the day when dealing with our current media.
Is that we're effectively run in this country via the Democrats, via our corporate oligarchs, by a bunch of childless cat ladies who are miserable at their own lives and the choices that they've made, and so they want to make the rest of the country miserable too. And it's just a basic fact. You look at Kamala Harris, Pete Buttigieg, AOC, the entire future of the Democrats is controlled by people without children. And how does it make any sense that we've turned our country over to people who don't really have a direct stake in it?
Before we get started, I want to go ahead and say this really quick. This right here is not a take aimed at ladies who could not have children because they were sick or because the situation did not allow them to have children or they never really and truly got time to actually have children. This is not a video pointed at women who, for whatever reason, may have gotten married a little bit late due to certain things in their life or maybe could have had a condition that did not allow them to have children. I mean, at one point in time, I want to say that if you were a diabetic and you were a woman, you couldn't have children for fear of death. That right there, of course, was before medical technology, things changed. But I just want you to know right now that this right here is not a video aimed at those who, quite frankly, could not have children at all. It's also not a video aimed at single men who could not have children. I mean, my God, I'm a single man who, quite frankly, does not have children. But at the same time, though, I also realize that I can start a family at any point in time in my life that I want. I mean, just look at Johnny Depp, Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, actors. Of course, I understand they're actors and famous Hollywood celebrities. I'm just simply saying that men have that ability. Not all women do. And, of course, obviously, life circumstances can sometimes hinder somebody from being able to start a family. This right here is a take designed to talk about those who say crap like, oh, you better not have children because of climate change. Or this right here is a take that's designed to look at those who are currently dictating U.S. policy and they want to shove the certain alphabet agenda on your children. This right here is a take talking about the women who think that they know your kids better than you do. This right here is a take talking about those women who want to raise your children yet not want to have any children of their own, or maybe, the biological time clock has passed. So I just want you to know right now that this right here is not some take, and of course it will be taken that way by some people aimed at every single woman. Now with that right there being said, let's talk about this issue. So Trump's VP pick, JD Vance. By the way, I advise you guys, please go to Netflix and check out the film Hillbilly Elegy or buy the book. As a matter of fact, when people keep on saying that this guy's, his likability or his favorables are very, very low, that's about to change. And the biggest reason why it's about to change is because when you actually watch that movie and see exactly what he went through as a child, it's going to make him much, much more likable. And seeing how it is that it's currently #1 on Netflix, you got to ask yourself a question. I think that, it's actually a pretty daggone relatable film when you actually watch it. There's also one more thing that needs to be said before we get started, and I promise I'll get on topic here. But to those people who want to boycott Netflix at this moment in time because of their $7 million payment to Kamala Harris, while it's your right to do so, I just want you to know something right now, that a lot of people are watching the film Hillbilly Elegy right now, and this guy's favorabilities are about to go through the roof. So keep it if you want to watch the film. If you want to boycott, go right ahead and do so. Either way, though, I think that the $7 million donation to Kamala Harris's campaign is probably going to backfire, just to be saying. So what happened? Well, you guys obviously saw the comments earlier in the video. JD Vance was pointing out the fact that current U.S. policy right now is being dictated by a bunch of ladies out there who have chosen for whatever reason not to start a family, have chosen for whatever reason to put their careers ahead of their family. And one such individual who has done this is your current Vice President of the United States, current presumptive Democratic Party nominee, Kamala Harris. Now, some people are going to point out the fact that she has 2 stepchildren, and of course she does. She also spent her entire career. Well, I tell you what, let's watch this clip right quick, about 40 seconds, and then we'll come back on the other side.
On Kamala Harris, who is probably now the most Googled person in the history of America. I'm really not kidding. Check this out. Border czar on Google Trends is now being searched. What is this? 6%? How many times does 6 go into 100? 1,600% more than it's ever been searched in the last 5 years. And for some reason, even the term Willie Brown is trending more than it has in the last
Willie
5
Brown, Montel Williams, all the men, of course, in her past, it's all starting to kind of come back up, which, by the way, is a second component to this video, because it's not just JD Vance's comments that we're going to be talking about. It's all the other lunatic takes that have come out over the past week that involve this same issue that we're about to speak of, childless women. But still, the point is, and by the way, we'll talk about childless men too, because there was something that was said here by Trey Gowdy here in a second that I thought was, spot on. But also at the same time, though, there was also this tweet from Dave Portnoy that I'm going to be pointing out a little bit later on to kind of clamp down on why it is that, I think we need to have policies that are geared more towards families, because that right there at the end of the day is what the hell we're talking about. The thing is this right here. Kamala Harris's background is going to be fair game. And also, given the fact that there are people who live in places like, say, New York and Chicago right now who are feeling the brunt of her incompetence being the border czar, I would say that seeing how it is that their families are being affected by what's going on, it seems to me that this country is probably going to become a whole lot more pro-family in the near future.
Outside.
Now it feels like that whole section
we're doing that, and that's what
is just not available to the community
asking our local elected
anymore.
That
So our parks are not available to
Can't go there.
anymore.
search out and give us a list of all of the empty
You can't go to the
lots.
park.
Escalation in violence on the street and in the community for months now.
We've been pleading with the mayor as we've seen increased violence.
And given the recent crime that happened in New York City that's gone viral, that's all over the news right now, of a Venezuelan gang member shooting two people of color, by the way, I have a feeling that people are tired of a person who, quite frankly, is not putting actual children here or American children first. I think that people are beginning to get tired of that, just simply saying. Obviously, this election cycle is going to get pretty daggone nasty, and the mainstream media is, in fact, going to take what you have to say out of context. So what did Mr. Vance do? How did he respond to this? Well, let me play this, roughly a minute and 20 seconds. We'll come back on the other side, and we'll kind of expand on it, and then we'll get to all the ridiculousness around this situation.
We should honor and respect that, but there are a whole host of people who don't have children for a whole host of reasons, and they certainly are great people who can participate fully in the life of this country, and that's not what I said, Trey. If you look at what the left has done, they have radically taken this out of context and, in fact, aggressively lied about what I've said. What I do think is true, Trey, and this goes to the heart of what I was talking about 3 years ago in those comments, but it's going to be something I continue to talk about, is that the left has increasingly become explicitly anti-child and anti-family. They've encouraged young families not to have children at all because of concerns over climate change. They've suggested that people who do have children are somehow being selfish, when I think being a parent is actually the most selfless thing that you can do, and again, really does transform your perspective. So this is not a criticism, and was never a criticism, Trey, of everybody without children. That is a lie of the left. It is a criticism of the increasingly anti-parent and anti-child attitude of the left. There's one more thing I want to say on this, Trey. I think a lot of parents and a lot of non-parents look at our public policy over the last 4 years and ask, how did we get to this place? How did we get to a place where Kamala Harris is calling for an end to the child tax credit? How did we get to a place where we were masking toddlers years into the pandemic? I think it's because we radically underrepresent the perspective of parents in our public discourse. I'm going to keep on calling that out because I think it's important for parents to have a voice, and I'm proud to be on the ticket with President Trump. I think a real defender of parents and families.
There's something I want to go ahead and throw on out there. When he talked about how it was that we got to the point where we were masking our children, well, here's what I want to talk about. How was it that we got to a point to where a person who runs a Twitter account called Libs of TikTok, how was it that she was able to get a hold of a lot of teachers who were very, very much in favor of pushing said alphabet agenda, certain types of reading material, explicit, not for children's eyes? And I can already hear somebody saying, well, you're pro-free, you're pro-censorship when it comes to little children. Yeah, I kind of am. Kids shouldn't see certain things. How was it that we got to the point to where kids were looking at, I don't know, drag queen story hour? How was it that we got there? How was it that we got to this recent debacle involving the Olympics in France where they mocked the Last Supper with drag queens and stuff? How did we get to that? Well, I think we got to that because for whatever reason, society itself became anti-family. The teachers that were exposed by Libs of TikTok, Shire Rychek, I think that's how you pronounce his name. The teachers that were exposed that were saying crap like, yeah, you know, kids should be allowed to see this type of stuff. Most of these were women who, by the way, when you actually looked into their background, didn't have children, chose not to have kids, or were choosing not to have kids, and they were very, very liberal, very, very anti-family. These are the people who, by the way, believe that they know your situation better than you do. These people have no empathy. They're completely and totally out of touch. These people right here, this right here is the end result of being an anti-family society. So I don't think what JD Vance said was wrong at all. I actually think what JD Vance said was actually spot on. However, it's the right thing, and given the current environment, given the current crap that we're dealing with in this nation at this moment in time, it seems to me that I think a lot of other people out there, or at least most people, especially women, don't really and truly care about something that JD Vance said about some women who chose not to start a family. Just saying. And once again, I want to go ahead and get this out here right now. In no way, shape, or form was he talking about, or am I talking about, women who could not have children due to the fact that certain life circumstances would not allow it to happen. Look at me. I'm about to be 40 years old. I got health issues. I have not had any children, none that I know of anyways, which is basically me just going in and saying no, because this is just a funny way of me saying it. The fact of the matter is this right here. I can start a family at any point in time, but I empathize with women who could not start a family that, quite frankly, due to certain situations that they actually wanted to start a family, just couldn't. It's sad. It sucks. It's tragic in a lot of ways. A lot of good women out there. But what JD's talking about is he's talking about women like AOC who choose to, I don't know, not start a family, who choose their career over their family. And they're not very, very good at their jobs, by the way. Anyways, just look at the current country. Look at Jen Granholm, the current energy secretary. She was the governor of Michigan. She was a failure at both jobs. Once again, another woman who just chose not to have children. Just saying. And as a result of this, we now have this migrant crisis that these people are using for something I can't say here on YouTube, but I have said that they are trying to do BRT, let you guys kind of figure out what that is. And once again, here we are. However, that does not mean there have not been some very, very, very dumb takes about this same exact issue. You guys are seeing something here in the B-roll footage. White women for Kamala. Look, I've said this right before. The ladies who are going to vote for Kamala Harris are going to be black women. And, of course, there's even some problems with that, as you guys will see now.
Her afternoon drive show. A cross-section of people calling in with opinions of Harris and her likely history-making run as president. The airwaves lighting up.
I am done with the Democratic Party. They need to learn to put the country and the people.
Black women and ultra-liberal white women who, guess what, are single. I talked about in this video here, these right here are the women that Kamala Harris has got to win over. And if you ever hear a white woman say the phrase, there's just something about this person that I just don't like, or something about this person, that means you've lost them. It's the old Al Bundy quote, only women understand other women and they absolutely hate each other. It's a very, very odd dynamic. I really and truly can't explain it. I mean, these are the same women that we're talking about that when you go to the gym will wear extremely skimpy outfits and then they will work out right in front of a mirror. And if your eye just goes in the direction of them, they'll have their camera ready to record you to post it on TikTok to blow your ass wide open. That's how crazy we've gotten as a society, and it makes you think what the hell is going on here, and it's radical feminism that's pushing this, and also radical materialism, just saying. I think people are beginning to wake up. Now, guys, I played you guys a clip from Rasmussen Reports, their YouTube channel. Very, very good pollster they've got over there. And of course, this guy right here has been one of the more accurate when it comes to polling. Richard Barris is also very good too. The People's Pundit. I advise you guys go check him out. Robert Barnes is not a pollster, but he understands what's going on. A lot of, let's just put it this way here. The pollsters who normally get it correct are normally the pollsters the mainstream media does not mention, because anything that comes from the media is normally a bunch of BS and is designed to shape public opinion. But I think my man here said it best when he was talking about the actual numbers in the recent polling, especially when it comes to women, especially Democrat women.
And Joe Biden, I think, was doing 42, 43%. And here she is at 41% with the 21% very favorable, 43% very unfavorable, which is getting up there. I think that's actually more very unfavorable than Trump the last couple times we polled him. Trump is, time and time again, the most favorably viewed politician, but he also has pretty high, very unfavorable numbers. Men and women both view Kamala Harris unfavorably. Women, 43%, men, 39%. She really doesn't do well with any of the age groups. Middle-aged voters, 43%. So I guess that's her best. Black Americans have a higher impression of her, 54%, than anyone else, but that is lower than what they think about Joe Biden. He's sitting about 60% with them right now. But Democrats, lower numbers than Biden. This is 69% when Joe Biden's been 75 to 80%.
I think people have woken up and people have seen that obviously what's going on around them is a lot worse than any type of comment that JD Vance has made in recent years. By the way, the comment at the very, very beginning that you guys saw, that was on Tucker Carlson, and that right there was right before JD Vance chose to run for the Ohio Senate seat. By the way, the vast majority of the attacks that they're laying on former President Trump are attacks from 2016. By the way, speaking of Trump, they've now got it out there to where they want to fully censor the Trump assassination bit. This right here is the crap that we're going to have to go through. But there is the possibility that something could happen as a result of all these crazy white women, as far as also the crazy media coverage to try to go ahead and crown Kamala the anointed one like they did Obama in 2008. You see, people are, for the most part, are already over it. And I think what this guy right here said, and he's a never Trumper, sums it up perfectly.
Debate, everything gets scrambled up. And then Kamala comes and we see 1 week of flowing and gushing, yes, reflection of the euphoria that is real that people are experiencing. And I actually am happy that people are experiencing euphoria. However, that feeling that the other people are experiencing is also real, which is that stop gaslighting us right now. And if you keep doing it, I've gotten emails from, and I'm not a pro-Trump person at all, from people who saying, if people keep doing this, I'm thinking about rage voting for Trump. That is a terrible outcome.
This type of crap will force people to rage vote for Trump. But obviously, we've got somebody not from the United States whom I do respect a lot, or I did respect a lot, who decides to come at us with this here.
Kamala this, Kamala that, Biden gone this. Well, actually, they're not even mentioning that, really. It's like Biden never existed. Like the Democrats didn't gaslight us for months about him running and being at the peak of fitness and health. They lied to you. He lied to you about running and winning. So where does this leave us? Well, Kamala Harris is going to be the nominee. That's just how it works in U.S. politics. There will be stories of other Dems potentially running, but, the person the president endorses runs. That's it. It's set in stone. So who is Kamala Harris? Well, if you ask right-wing Twitter right now, they'll tell you she is a woman, and that is bad. A woman without...
Now, I know somebody's going to come in here and they're going to say, oh my God, you're going to attack Lauren Southern. Look, Lauren Southern, I've said this on multiple occasions, a very, very smart girl, very, very smart lady. However, recently her takes have kind of exposed her a lot, and I've got to say this really quick before I go any further. While what she's about to talk about does seem to make sense at first, when you actually dig into it and look at the society around us and look at how people are responding to the society around us, you got to ask yourself a question. Do people really and truly care about the childless woman issue? I mean, do people not see that maybe it's not a good idea to have people in charge that don't have kids? I'm just saying, but let's watch this.
A woman without kids, the original Haktua girl. I swear, every Democrat strategist is rubbing their hands right now, just ecstatic that not only have they been able to change the discourse from the nation uniting around Trump and his near-death experience, but they've managed to get the right to fall further into the gender divide strategy, convince women the right hate them, and the only reason they don't want Kamala in is because she is one of them. But of course, those of us who haven't fallen prey to this very clear optics disaster trap know that there are plenty of real policy reasons.
The original Hot Tour girl talking about Kamala Harris's past. Look, I want to go ahead and say this. You guys saw at the very beginning, people were Googling, Willie Brown was like the top trend. And it wasn't just the top trend for one day. It was actually the top trend for about 3 or 4 days. When you start to look into that, start doing more and more information, you start to find out that it's not just the fact that she's a childless woman who chose to be childless. It's a woman who, quite frankly, slept her way to the position she's in now. She didn't screw anybody while she was in D.C. that we know of. I'm just simply saying that, obviously, if you look into Kamala Harris's past, you find someone who, quite frankly, is pretty much a radical feminist. And there's also this little bit that I saw on the Jimmy Dore channel, and of course, I'm not going to include it here, but I'm going to link the video in the description box, so I'll probably talk about it in a later video later on this week, Well, there's actually a lot more crap here to this woman that people are about to find out. And let me go ahead and say this right here. The more and more and more that you try to scrub the internet of somebody's information, the more and more people will snoop around and find something. But once again, though, here we are. But there is one thing I do want to say. While I don't exactly agree with Lauren's logic, there is one thing that she did say in a video that I will leave in the description box, which is this one right here, that I do 100% fully agree with. But of course, it kind of sort of comes back to what I was saying earlier. People don't really care about these comments from Vance, but let's watch.
To push back on Kamala. One of the main critiques she has been getting from across the board, this is progressives as well as the right, is her many inconsistencies on every policy she's pushed over the years, from her stances on things like justice reform to healthcare. I mean, some of her biggest criticisms she's been getting lately are posts of things like this: no one should be going to jail for smoking weed, with many of all sides saying, lady, this kind of seems like lip service when you opposed a 2010 measure to legalize pot in California and oversaw the conviction of nearly 2,000 people for weed violations. But unfortunately, much like the right's new favorite critiques of Kamala, the left's support of her doesn't hold much substance either. In fact, her most famous moments altogether, just what everyone knows her for, don't seem to make much sense at all, have any substance at all.
Lauren is not lying. And there's also more in that video that she got correct, which is also weird too, because they're running with this thing saying JD Vance and Donald Trump are weird, but yet they're the actual weirdos. Very, very strange thing. I may do a video on that. But everything that Lauren said in that little bit there is correct. It's probably the biggest reason why it is she's not doing well with black men. It's probably the biggest reason why she's not doing well with young women, with young men. It's also probably the biggest reason why it is that there are some black women out there who are married, have families, who decide to vote for Trump with their husbands because they don't like her record when it comes to law enforcement. Look, let me say this really quick. In order to win elections, the Democratic Party normally has to rely heavily on the single women vote and the married women vote too. The problem is that married women are starting to vote with their husbands, which means they're starting to vote to the right. Those who are single women, who, by the way, have children, single mothers, are also starting to do the exact same thing. It's just the single feminist women, along with black women and some Hispanic women, that are voting to the left. In order to pull off a victory, you need young black men with young Latino men to help you pull that off, and white simps. Well, they got the white simps, but you need them all in unison. You're not getting black men, you're not getting Hispanic men, so I really and truly don't believe that this topic or anything that JD Vance said about childless women is going to hurt this campaign or hurt the Trump team going forward, because it's a campaign that's focusing more on family and family values. And there's only one base of support that Trump is actually hurting with at this moment in time, and that base of support is, actually, believe it or not, evangelicals. Yeah, Trump's actually hurting with evangelical Christians. But if you really think about it, do you guys think that maybe for like 2 seconds that maybe what JD Vance was saying right there about the Democratic Party becoming anti-family, do you think maybe he's not lying, or do you think maybe it's actually a smart campaign tactic for him to use because it helps them do what? Bring over evangelical voters who, quite frankly, aren't sure. And a lot of those evangelical voters have families, wife, kids, and their wife votes with them. I'm just simply saying that I don't think this right here is something to panic about. And while the cat ladies are definitely a problem, I don't think the cat ladies are going to be the thing that ultimately destroys the Trump team going forward. Just saying. But you guys tell me what you think in the comment section. I would love to hear what you guys have got to say. Please hit the like button. Please subscribe. Please share the video. Please sign off in the comment section. This video right here is probably going to come out a little bit earlier than originally anticipated. I do have a reaction video to another race hustler that I want to get out there. And there's also this situation in New York where you once again had another situation where an illegal, thanks to Kamala and being the borders are, let's just say another incident occurred, and it looks like people, residents in New York City, or some in certain community in Brooklyn, have finally had enough. But we'll talk more about that a little bit later on this week. Please hit the like button, subscribe, share the video, sign up in the comment section. I'll see you guys later.